Greetings and welcome to Parsing John. Today we finally get to take a look at our Greek and Latin passages together to see how they compare. We, of course, want to see primarily how the Latin faces up to the Greek, since the Greek is the original text, the Latin is a translation of it, roughly the equivalent, you might say, of the ESV or NIV, something like that. So we want to see how close the Latin is to the Greek, and then, as I've done the last few times, after we finish the last part of this section, I'll give it a grade based on how close it is. Let's go ahead and get started. So our first sentence in Greek is, "And this is the witness of the John," with article to tell us that it is a very particular John, not any generic one. I believe at this time, the three, and I could be wrong about one of these, but the three most popular names in the Judean region for Jews were John, Jesus, and I want to say Matthew or Levi, one of those two. I'm not certain about that one, but John would have been a very, very common name. So using an article here is just St. John's way of pointing out a particular one. All right. And in Latin, we've got, "And this is witness of John." Okay. There's not any real difference there. Kai and et are equivalents. Haute and hoc are rough equivalents. The way, as we're going to see later, that Latin handles witness is slightly different from the way that the Greek does. But so far, our first clause is good. Let's move on. Start with the Greek, sorry. When Jews sent out to him from Jerusalem priests and Levites. We've got when Jews sent from Jerusalem priests and Levites to him. So we've got a different word order here, but that doesn't change any of the meaning at all. Since both Greek and Latin are inflected languages, it's the case of a noun or the form of a verb that tells us what it does, not the position, as in English. So as we take a look at the most important parts of this, miserunt is a third person plural perfect active indicative, and apestelan is third person plural aorist active indicative, and the aorist tense and the perfect tense, they are rough equivalents. So this sentence is also pretty good. One big difference is not all versions of the Greek include to him, but to the best of my knowledge, most versions, if not all versions of the Latin, include that. So depending on what is correct about the Greek text regarding these two words, may change whether or not this actually belongs there, though it makes sense for it to be there. So far, so good. No major and no minor, really, differences. Okay. In order that, this is still visible, good. They may ask him. All right. Where did it go? There it is. In order that they might ask him. Okay, so in our Greek, we've got a third person plural aorist active subjunctive. And in the Latin, we've got a third person plural imperfect active subjunctive. So the idea in the aorist here, in the Greek here with the aorist tense, is that this is a one-time action. They sent them out to ask him, and then they were done. But the implication we're getting from the Latin here with the imperfect verb is that it's a incomplete action, so they ask him and keep on asking him. Jerome may have intended a different idea than that with Latin, but without talking to him, we can't know for certain. Suffice it to say that these two verbs, though they are both subjunctive, they are both used appropriately, the tenses don't match up, and so they are slightly off from each other. Ut and hia, we've got the same clause, so that's good. Still match up. Who are you? Who are you? Exact match, so that's fine. Right, moving it up again. Make sure everything stays in sight. Okay. He confessed and did not deny and confessed because. All right, and then in the Latin, and he confessed and did not deny and he confessed because. I see zero problems with this one. We've got negavit, perfect tense. And where is it in this one? Ernesato, aorist, perfect, and perfect tense. They all match perfectly. So that's really good. On again. I have to make sure things are visible. And is our Greek still visible? Yeah, we've got all the way to the bottom line. All right, good. Oh, Greek first. I am not the Christ. And then in the Latin, I am not Christ. Okay, so in Latin, in the Greek, we've got personal pronoun, which is not required. We've got a verb of being, negative, ho Christos. And we've got the same setup in Latin, of course, without the article. So this also fits, which is good. Let's move on. And they asked him, what therefore? Are you Elijah? And in here. And they asked him, what therefore? Are you Elijah? So we got perfect tense verb there. And we've got an aorist tense verb here, so that's good. We've got a direct object of the verb, direct object of the verb. T means what, quid means what. Un and ergo are equivalents. You are Elijah, you are Elijah. Exact match there. So far, this is really good. We've only got the imperfect verb versus the aorist verb. This is great. Moving on. Greek still visible? Greek is barely visible. Yeah, let's leave it at that. Okay. On screen, good. And he says, I am not. All right. And he says, not, I am. Okay, so present tense verb, Amy and Sue, good. Are you prophet? And he responds, responded, not. So you got either the present or the perfect tense with this verb, since it's the same tense for both. And since it's the third conjugation, it is the ending for both of them. You can't really tell. And in our Greek, which I keep covering up, the prophet are you? And he answered, not. Okay, so third person singular aorist deponent indicative. Third person singular perfect active indicative. So, of course, deponents are not going to match across the two different languages pretty much ever. So these are so far pretty good. Aorist tense and perfect tense is the better of the two options, as I think we discussed back in that original video anyway. So these verbs match up. This clause matches up with that clause. It's the same answer. Responded non. Epikrithe ou. This is a fantastic match between these two texts. So far, looks like the Latin is doing a fine job. One verb which is slightly off from the Greek text. Order doesn't matter at all. So that's fine where the Latin doesn't match up with the Greek. But verses 19 through 21 look fantastic. Okay, so if there's anything more ever that you want me, any of you want me to, presuming there's more than one of you, of course, any of you want me to go through when we compare the texts, let me know in the comments. I think I'm going to sign off on this video. And also, I'm sorry that this one is releasing a little bit late. Weekend plans did not go as planned. On that note, farewell.